Good morning, and thank you for attending today's webinar. Today's topic is on Liberty Reports for Sage 100 Contractor with presenter James Coyle from Event One Software. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone is in listen-only mode, so if you have questions, please type them into the questions box on the screen, and we will address them at the end of the session. The webinar will be recorded, and we will email out a copy to everyone later today. I will now turn it over to you, James.
Thank you, Kristen. Thanks to everyone who's taking the time out to join, or those folks who are listening now to the recorded presentation. We have a few slides we're going to go over to give you a basic understanding of what Liberty Reports is, as opposed to other technology that you might use for reporting. And then we're going to spend the rest of the time in the software. So this is the agenda that we're going to cover, and we'll start right in on Liberty Reports. So Liberty Reports is an Excel-based technology that is for reporting off of SQL Server databases. So it's inherently vendor or ERP agnostic. However, we have a special version specific to Sage 100 Contractor that will demonstrate, and that's what a quote would follow up with you for Liberty Reports for Sage 100 Contractor. But the note there is that if you have other databases in your business that are Microsoft SQL Server and you want to report on them, like what we're going to be demonstrating here, we have technology to be able to address that. This technology, as I said, is in Excel, so it's fully embedded in Excel, and you're going to report or refresh your reporting from within Excel. There's certain things that are vastly different about an Excel-based reporting technology than other technologies. So, historically, when you think of technology like QuickBooks or something like just Crystal, that pushes information into Excel. And once there, it's static. And you would then rearrange it to do the kind of reporting that you want. And anytime the information changes, you would have to repeat that process. With this technology, the paradigm is exactly the opposite. You're in Excel and you build the presentation of the information the way you want one time, or you have this built for you by consultants, and then you just refresh from within Excel. And anytime you want updated information, it's just a click of a button, and it refreshes into the format that you've established. The edge that people have described in using this technology is that it's a lot more intuitive than any other kind of reporting solution, because if you know Excel, you're leveraging what you know about Excel, and you're able to use the Excel features that you're familiar with. So you can produce very high quality reports that are interactive. You can also assemble a lot more information into an Excel workbook than you would in a simple report that might just run one report, whereas in an Excel workbook, you may use parameters and pull various different information shown in different ways to allow people to make the business decisions that you need them to make. So we're just going to now jump right in. I'm going to start this by demonstrating building something from nothing with the technology. So what I'm going to be using is a designer license. So two license types, and we'll hit upon that again later. There's a designer, which you can build something and refresh it, or you can refresh the reports that are on our Launchpad that you get with the software, or you can just, like I say, refresh. A standard license only refreshes reports that are already built, those on the Launchpad or those that are built for you or by someone else in your office who has a concurrent use of a designer license. So here I'm in Excel and I want to pull something in. I'm going to start very simple. Just put my cursor anywhere I want, and normally you'd just be typing the information in here, but I'm going to go up to the Liberty Reports option. So this is put into Excel when Liberty Reports is installed in your working environment. So here in my working environment, I have access to Sage 100 Contractor, and I have access to Excel. And I'm going to just do what's a query. Now, the first thing that you would do if you were beginning to use the software is that you would create a connection. So connection is a name and then a specific Sage 100 Contractor data folder that you want to connect to. I already have connection, so I'm just going to hit the query, and it begins this wizard process. And the first thing it's going to ask me is, what do I want to connect to? So our technology connects to lots of different databases, as you see, but you would only be able to run it off of the Sage 100 Contractor if that's all you required. So I'm picking the Sage 100 Contractor folder. And if you have multiple Sage 100 Contractor folders, then you can have multiple connections. And you can report on those multiple connections within a single worksheet and within a workbook. Okay, so I'm going to pick this connection. And it says here that I've already established a connection. That's because I've refreshed some other reports already for you so that we can be more efficient with our time. And I'm going to say, yes, use the connection I already have established. Okay, so now I'm presented with a list of the tables that are in Sage 100 Contractor. So these, the middle column are the historical names of tables in Sage 100 Contractor. So if you're a bit familiar with the technology, then you're probably familiar with these types of names. On the left are the user-friendly caption tables that we created. So we have put labels on the tables to help people who may not already know where the data is to have a better chance of finding where this, the data is that you want to report on. And I'm going to start just with cost-related information. So I'm on a PM cost code table, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to scroll down and find where I would find cost. The other way to find information is if I come up here to the search, I could just type in cost, and it will show me all the tables that pertain to cost. So, for example, there's job cost related information, and actually that's what I want for my report. This is my cost detail. So again, I just put a name here, and it limited the list of tables to those that had that name in there. So there's ways to navigate the information. So now I'm going to hit next, saying, yes, I do want to report off of this table, or at least I want to start with this table. And I'm going to begin to assemble the kinds of information I want. So I'm going to do the job. I'm going to, this is transactional data. And I don't want the transactions description. I want the date. I'll take the phase and cost code, the vendor. Perhaps I'm going to grab employee because there's employee costs in here. I might want hours and cost and billing amount. I pick whatever it is that I want on this report. And as you see below, you're getting visual confirmation of what you've chosen. So this is a good start amongst all the tables. Oh, actually, I got job here. I didn't do job. Now, I didn't select that. I made a mistake, and that was an honest mistake. I really did make that mistake. But if you did that and you added this, if you want to just move this to the front, you click it and you drag it over. And so I can rearrange these columns the way I want. So again, all very visual. Well, if I'm doing a report like this, there's a number, job number, but the job's name is not here. It's not on this table. Same with the vendor, same with the employee. So if you see this icon up here, this allows me to grab data from other tables that are related. So if I click this, I can hit add, and it says, okay, what do you want to add? Well, the vendor table is one of the ones I want to add. So I'm going to choose the vendor table and hit OK. And it's saying, okay, there's a relationship between this table and the vendor table. So what do you want to pull off of it? And I say, well, I want the name. The vendor number is here, but not the name. And it's showing me a list of names that are in the that I have out there for vendors. So I printed it over here. It's blank on these rows because there's no vendor. But when I encounter vendor data, I'll get the respective name. So I say, okay, that's good. I'll move that over there. And so now I'm going to click additional tables. I'll hit add. And now it's showing me again tables that are related. And I'm going to come down and maybe I want, on this case, the job table. So there's that table right there that will have the job's name. I come in here, and now at this point it's saying, okay, you're adding another table, but you already have two tables, the vendor and the job, and this job number is on both of these tables. Which one is the one you want to find the name of the job for? And mine is a cost report. So I added the vendor just to get the name. So I still want to stick with this table right here. Okay. And now I have a list of the values off of that table, and I want the job's name. So I pull it over there and I rearrange it, bring it over here. And now I'm going to grab, for example, like the cost code name. I can grab the vendor name or whatever else I want to put on there, but I'm just going to, I'm trying to convey concepts here to you versus, building whatever up to it. So if I come up here, again, I could say cost, something to limit the list, and there's PM cost code. So you're going to find that that's going to help you a lot to find the tables you want. So there's the description of the cost code, and I click that, and I add it over here. And I don't know if you've used any other report writers, but if you have, you recognize that this is a lot easier to connect the tables and pull the data you want. With most any report designer, there's a lot. It's not as visual. It's not as intuitive. You're not getting confirmation of what you're pulling. And then the last table I wanted to grab here is employee. Pick the employee table. And again, I'm driving off the cost. And I grab, say, employee's last name and first name. Pull that over next to the employee-related information. So if I have an employee row, then I'm able to see who that belongs to. So now I have the columns that I wanted. And I can then proceed on what I'm going to do with my report. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hit next. I can apply conditions. So let's say I wanted this information, but I wanted it through, say, a cutoff date. How would I do that? So I could add a condition, and I could say the date on the cost table, I want only dates that are less than or equal to some cutoff date. Let's say 4/30/2018. This is sample data. So I'm going to pick this column. I'm going to say I want only data less than or equal to, and then I'm going to tell it that I want the cutoff date to be put right there on the report. So in B2 will be the cutoff date. Now the advantage to this is I can now change this date and my report will change. So I can refresh the data. I'm building something that I can use on an ongoing basis. So, and I'll even put in 4/30 as my cutoff date. So now I have a condition that has to be met. And if I wanted any other conditions, I could establish them. I can summarize this information, although I don't want to, because I'm going to use another capability of Excel to do that. So I'm just going to hit next. I can sort it however I want. I'm not going to do that. And this is a cost report, and it's telling me the upper left-hand corner of the report is in C4, because that's where I was when I started this. And I'm going to say, yep, that's fine. So I'm just going to hit finish, and I now have a report. Now, as I showed you before, if I tie this date to this information, I can change this date and this will change. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click this, and in Excel, I'm using just Excel at this point. So these are capabilities of Excel. And as you're thinking, you might say, well, this doesn't seem that hard, but is there training available? And yes, you have access to training and services, and we're going to cover that in the PowerPoint. But I'm going to come into parameters, and that date is a parameter for this report. I'm going to say when the date changes to refresh it. So now if I change this date to something like, 3/21, let's say. Now the data changed. See how I change a date and the date in Excel changes. So I've done that. If I want to clean up this report, put it, make it look more presentable, with Excel, how would I do that? I can, with Excel, remove grid lines. This is not Liberty Reports. This is Excel that I'm using to do these things. If I want to change the column headings and make them, say, bold, or they already were bold, I may want to put a background color so that my labels look the way I want. I just establish that the way I want to establish it. And I have it. I can use this. I can even, of course, insert a filter control. So if I come up here, I can select my report. This is where defined names are. So queries have names associated with them, the name of the report. So if I want to come up here and insert a filter, then I could just say, I only want to see rows that pertain, to a certain job, and I would be able to see that. That's, again, just Excel. That's how I'm getting this type of report. Okay, so that's one way to go about building something like this. I'm going to remove my filter control because I want to show you a different way. It's another thing that people often do with reports like this when they build it is all the data is out there in the various tables in Sage Runner Contractor. But when you want to build a report, you may want to summarize this in some way. And you probably have to tell somebody or ask a consultant, how do I do that? With Excel, you don't have to ask anyone if you understand something simple like pivot tables. So I have this report selected. I can insert a pivot table, and it's automatically grabbing all that data that I just grabbed. And now it's giving, Excel is giving me the ability to put whatever I want. So I can put the job in the rows. I could put the cost codes in the columns, and I could put in the costs and billings in the amounts. I'm keeping it simple for you. You can do this any way you want. So now I have a report. Here are my rows, and I could have put job and job name over here and so on and so forth. But now I see a summarized representation of what you just saw in the detail report. And this will refresh when your other data refreshes. Just with a click of a button, it refreshes. So if I want to see what makes that up, I just click it, and I'll see the detail below any one of those rows. So I quickly, in a couple minutes, I set up a report from nothing in Excel. I can save this, and I can now use it going forward, or other people who have, say, standard licenses in my company can use this. So the designing report is one way that people, they want to be able to design their own reports. But with Liberty Reports, you have a number of reports that come with the software. So right here, I'm in the Launchpad for Liberty Reports. And you see there's a number of reports. Some of these I've already generated. So this is an example of an AP aging report. So it comes with it. All you would do is select the report, log in. The information page would tell you how to use this report, what the work process is. But essentially, you're going to put in parameters and hit refresh, and now I get a report. And we're using Excel to control the amount of real estate on the screen that's being used. So I have a very nice, concise report. I could print this, but as you see right here, I can click this and I can expand more data. So I could pull all this data on the report, but I could choose to not show this data unless I'm seeing something that doesn't look right. And so I expand it to see more information. So this is an AP aging report, and you could build something like this yourself, although it's already built, so there's no reason for you. We've put in some flexibility. Right here where it says subtotals, it's got filters on, but if I wanted to subtotal by vendor or by job, I just choose. So if I say by job, it changes the report on my screen. And now I'm seeing the information organized by job, and because you're subtotaling, you can collapse your subtotals. All of this is just Excel. The report was created with Liberty Reports, but the arrangement of information and the navigation, it all leverages just Excel. Of course, with it being Excel, I can highlight data, copy it, paste it, do whatever it is that I want with it. I've grabbed a financial statement. So there's one on the Launchpad. This was created, actually the exact opposite approach is my first example, where I pulled all the detail in and then I summarized it. What this did is it's grabbing data out of Sage 100 Contractor, for whatever fiscal year and period to report on, and now I'm seeing a trial balance, a balance sheet, and an income statement. And it's fast because it's not pulling all the detail in. But if you look at something and you want to know what makes something up, you just, right here, this is drill down enabled. You just double click it and it will pass those parameters to another query and refresh it. So I can see the detail that makes up the totals on my report. So that's an example of a financial statement. And I've got one more example. This is a project manager's report. So again, when we create a report, we put parameters somewhere on there. Here we have a parameters page. So I put a cutoff date. I could have all supervisors, only some supervisors, and so on and so forth. I click this button to refresh. I could also, here on the Liberty Reports toolbar, click this button to refresh the data. So that will get me a new updated information out of Sage. And now I have a job summary. And so I have my job information listed out, supervisor, so on and so forth. Again, you see I'm using Excel's grouping there's a lot of data here, but I don't always want to show it. So I can expand or contract these columns as I choose. And I've got totals on the bottom. And that, you can put your totals anywhere you want with Excel. This is just how we've gone about doing this. In this situation, the data is coming from a whole bunch of different tables. So the reason that when we created these reports, they were recommended by consultants and business partners and some customers of reports that were desirable but difficult to produce or customize otherwise without technology like this. So we have quite a few different reports here on the Launchpad, and I'm just going to quickly show you where you could see examples of any of those reports. So if I come up here to come to the Event One Software website, which is we're going to follow up with you and provide you this PowerPoint and other content. But if you come to the Event One Software website, under products, you see Liberty Reports. So I just choose reports included with Sage 100 Contractor. So if I click that, I'm going to see that same list of reports that are there. So like, here's a cash flow. That's interesting. So let's say if I click this, I'm going to go to another screen that's going to show me a screenshot of the different things. So you see here, if I click this, it's going to show me a summary of cash in and out per job, and it's then graphing it. Graphs are really easy with Excel. Once you build your report, you just hit insert graphs and you highlight the data and boom, you've got a graph that will refresh whenever your data refreshes. So it's very simple to add a graph, and the visual element helps you understand and read the report. Other stakeholders in your company often very much appreciate that. And then of course you can drill into the detail that makes up any of those values, just like I showed you before. And you can do that same drill down if you got the ability to design the report. So any reports you want to see are right there on the Launchpad. So what I'm going to do is come back out. How am I doing on time, Chris? We've got a few more minutes. I'm going to cover just a few more slides.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so when we think, if you're thinking about financial reporting, if that's what you want, you saw we already have a financial. When we teach people to build their own, because sometimes that's what folks want to do. So there's one of the reports on the Launchpad is a new report. So you click it and it's an empty report, but it's got the structure in there, like the information page and a parameter page and so on and so forth. So we've already done that to help set that up for you. So then you decide on your parameters, your year and period or date or whatever it is that you're going to do. And you start thinking about what accounts, placing accounts on there or how to retrieve amounts. And we have knowledge-based articles on these subjects right here. So you see a link back to our website. So there's a knowledge base that has lots of content to help people be successful. And then there's some additional topics that we typically cover, like how to create multiple sections or how to save a copy of a report with just the values. So you could share it with someone who does not have Liberty reports, like a CPA. You want to give a CPA your financial, there's a button you can select, and then all they need is Excel, and they could look at your financials. They wouldn't be able to drill into the detail if you did a save as values, because that's happening real time when you're clicking on the data because you're connected to it. However, if you approach a report with a pivot table where you're pulling all the data in, then they would be able to click on the summarized data and see the detail behind it. Whatever data that was current as of the time you had refreshed it is what they would be able to use. Some people though just give the other stakeholders the opportunity to refresh reports right from their server. These things are possible this day and age that wasn't possible in the past. So the value proposition of this technology is you can increase the kinds of reports that you can build and how useful, how easy it is to navigate, how to present the data, and it's leveraging knowledge you already have. Excel skills are what is going to give you the edge here. As you saw, the reports are very interactive, and I could have various different reports all in one workbook. So our goal is to help you accomplish more in less time versus you pushing the data into Excel from a report that's almost correct but not exactly what you want, and then having to manipulate it. That's costing you money because it's costing you time. And if you invest the time once, you get exactly what you want. And you're getting a flexible and robust report designer should you choose to go down that path. So this is how the software is sold. It's concurrent use. So there is a standard license that allows you to refresh reports, like on the Launchpad, or what a consultant or someone creates for you. And that's the price per concurrency. And you get a discount as you get more and more. This is a one-time license price. So when you buy 2, 3, 4, 5 concurrencies, you have them. You don't have to buy them again. There is a price of software updates and support, technical support, and that would be on the proposal that Cheryl would create for you. So you'd get the price of the software and your software updates and so on and so forth. That over here on the right is the price of the designer license. So when we first created the technology, we were told that a lot of Sage 100 Contractor people wouldn't design their own reports. Consultants would just design things for them. But in reality, a lot of people have bought designer license. And that consequently why we offer training classes to help you better leverage what you've acquired. So the next steps would be to decide is this desirable to you? Are the kinds of things that we showed are the things that you want? And if so, what licenses do you think you want to start with? Decide kind of what reports you need. Are the ones on the Launchpad sufficient to get started? Do you need something specific that you're trying to acquire? And then get a proposal on what it would take to create that type of a solution for you, or to help you create it. Ultimately, that's really what we want to do, is to help people become as self-sufficient as possible. If that's what you desire, then we have a means to do that. These are the processes that professional services folks typically go through, is they assess the project and give you an idea of what it would cost. Sometimes the scope of what you want is pretty significant. So just like in a construction cycle where you have to have engineering studies and architectural and whatever, there could be something more substantial that has to go in. That would of course be billable if your report was substantial. If someone just tries to, if you say, something complicated, how many hours would it take? And someone gives you a number without thinking through, asking you questions, you have to think about how much can you trust that number. So it just depends. We are very experienced at building reports. So our team, between Accord and Event1 Software, very good at helping you. But we also want to help you be self-sufficient. So one-on-one consulting is sometimes a way to go. There's the email if you're interested in more information on that. And here's information for Cheryl on getting costs for this technology. So if you want a proposal, that's Cheryl's contact information. And again, there's the email address for Accordance Services. So I got in with 3 minutes to spare, which you're surprised. I don't know, I kind of go into more detail normally. Turn it over to you.
Okay, so if anyone has any questions, type them in the questions box. We'll be happy to answer them. So far, we don't have any, but that means you did such a great job explaining.
Thank you.
And if you decide you have a question later, you can always contact us after the webinar. You can use Cheryl's email address or just reply to the email with the recording, and we'll be happy to assist you.
Awesome. Well, if there's no questions, I really appreciate the opportunity to present to everyone.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any questions. So again, if you have something, please contact us and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you again for attending today's webinar. We'll email out the presentation later on. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, James.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye-bye.